with Tim Prister of Irish Illustrated and John Brice of FootballScoop.com. We are about 2 hours before game time here between number 10 Notre Dame and number 25 Louisville. And I think Irish fans got good news late in the week, Thursday, that two wide receivers and tight end Eli Raridon will be healthy. They'll be welcoming back Jaden Thomas and Jaden Greathouse. The offense definitely needs that input, and especially just in terms of work volume, where the three wide receivers last week had to play every snap. Mitchell Evans playing almost every snap as well.
Yeah, and the return of both wide receivers, obviously huge. They have emerged as Notre Dame's two most consistent players on the perimeter, with Rico Flores certainly coming on strong and Chris Tyree having a nice season. But getting the Jadens back, very significant for Sam Hartman, very significant for the Notre Dame running game. And then you bring Eli Raridon into the mix for his 2023 debut. He won't play a ton today, 10 to 15 snaps. They'll look to get him back involved, especially let him block in some live game situations, knock the rust off a little bit, let him prove to himself that he is fully healthy, and then potentially expand his role next week when Southern Cal comes to South Bend. But certainly a huge day for Notre Dame. We saw it last week, really struggled to score without so many key pieces. Now you bring back three guys who eventually will be difference makers once again for the Irish.
Yeah, the over-under is not that much different going into this game than it was last week, but I think we all expect more points, more touchdowns, and part of that is defending Louisville, their skill position players. Marcus Freeman mentioned there's a couple keys to this game.
Yeah, we asked him about it on Thursday, and he talked about, number one, tackling,
Yep.
which you have some stats about that, tackling-wise, and then, of course, stopping the explosive plays, which Louisville is very good at. That is their specialty. And, and I think in asking Marcus Freeman about it, he went ahead and said that, the key is to make Louisville's offense one-dimensional, and that means stopping the run, Jawar Jordan, limiting what he does, and then putting the onus on Jack Plummer to beat you with his arm. He has some good receivers, but I think Notre Dame feels comfortable that if they can, bring a little bit of pressure and keep him in the pocket, they can make him make mistakes throwing the football.
Yeah, according to Pro Football Focus, Notre Dame missed 16 tackles last week against Duke. You take any other three games this year, and they won't equal more than 16. So I do think it could be a one-off in that regard. You mentioned Jack Plummer, and I just want to throw in one thing real fast. Jack Plummer last year for California, he ran for 84 yards against Notre Dame. Now, he was sacked 6 times, so he lost 47 of those 84 yards, so the stat sheet doesn't show it. He's not Riley Leonard running, but Jack Plummer's a guy they have to contain. This would be year number 3, college number 3, facing Jack Plummer at quarterback.
Yeah, they don't plan for him on the ground per se, Tim, to a great point by you, but they have to account for him. And he did move the sticks at times last year for Cal, but it has to be in the back of his mind that he's never had appreciable success against the Irish. It has to be in the back of his mind, even though that this is a vastly different Notre Dame defensive line. He got sacked 6 times last year and hurried, I believe, an additional 5 times. He's lost to Notre Dame with 2 separate teams, and I think that ultimately there's not enough depth on the Louisville lines of scrimmage to hold up with Notre Dame across 4 quarters, and I think that Notre Dame, the earlier it can affect Plummer, the more the Irish have a chance to get in his head.
Brownlee and Riley is a cornerback tandem that they are physical. When you watch them on film, Marcus Freeman is right about that. But going into the game last week, I just thought Duke's secondary would outplay Notre Dame's admittedly depleted perimeter. I think Notre Dame has a chance against these guys today. Although they've had a very good year, they have not faced Sam Hartman-level quarterbacking.
No, they haven't. Now, they gave it pretty good to Sam Hartman last year when he was still with Wake Forest. But, again, as we've seen already this season, when you give him a better supporting cast, he has a chance to be a whole lot better. But, obviously Notre Dame needs the 2 Jadens, Thomas and Greathouse. Since the wideouts have not produced at a high rate, Mitchell Evans has developed. So now you insert those receivers back into the equation with Mitchell Evans, maybe get the ball. I suspect they're going to try to get the ball to the running backs on the perimeter a little bit more. We expected that a little bit more last week, and it didn't happen. So, Notre Dame has more weapons. And, yes, we talked about during the week how many touchdowns in our podcast, how many touchdowns would Notre Dame score. I think the question was, would they equal or exceed the 4 touchdowns
from the previous 2?
The previous 2 games. And I think they have a good chance of hitting the number of 4, maybe even a little bit more than that.
You mentioned weapons, but we have some beautiful weather outside, but it's possible that thunder and lightning is going to hit Northern Kentucky, because I do believe Jeremiah Love is going to be forced into this game plan.
Scared me there.
Yeah, look, we talk about the stable, the bevy of backs. Jeremiah Love needs to be involved a little bit more. I believe Notre Dame realizes that, and Audric estimates the bell cow. He's going to carry the day, but the more they can get from Love, the more dangerous it makes this offense.
And I think you throw Jadarian Price into that mix because he's proved to you he can catch the ball very well out of the backfield. All three of those guys have different characteristics, different strengths. Love the fastest of the three. Jadarian Price not far behind, but I think the more that they're able to incorporate all three of those guys, it's obviously not only great news for the ground game. All that does is make life just a little bit easier on the perimeter for the two Jadens, for Rico Flores, for Chris Tyree, and then that's going to continue with an effective ground game to open up more and more of the middle of the field for Mitchell Evans. And to your point against tight ends, I noted this earlier in the week. Notre Dame's tight ends have been superb against Power 5 competition. Holden Stays, Mitchell Evans twice. They have combined now for 18 receptions, 309 yards, and 4 touchdowns among them just in the 3 games against Power 5 competition. This is another Power 5 opponent for Notre Dame. This is another opportunity for all of those guys to step up.
Should be another great atmosphere tonight. That's 3 weeks in a row, and I believe that will be 4 in a row when we convene again for the Notre Dame USC game. Last point is this is the second time where Notre Dame's offensive line has to answer the bell in terms of the atmosphere. They believe they have a new plan for that. Obviously, they did not want to reveal that new plan or the tweaks they've made. But the fall starts last week. If you are having that many pre-snap penalties again against a team with the skill position talent of Louisville, I think that would be a huge problem for the Irish tonight.
Yeah, in addition to all the false starts, they just didn't play very well up front last week, and I think
And the edge rushers are here for Louisville as well.
Well, they are. There's no doubt about that. Heron and Gelati are very good. They're going up against Joe Alt, who's one of the best in the country, and it's a real challenge for Blake Fisher this week. But I do think the offensive line bounces back, and it just comes down to, I think, our theme all week, that when all is said and done, with all the weapons that Louisville has, the game is still going to be won at the line of scrimmage. I think Notre Dame has an edge on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and if I could just make one quick point that we haven't mentioned, of course, Jordan Botello suspended for the first half of this game. Joshua Burnham gets the start. Junior Tuio Alamaka will also play some there as well. Botello due back to start the second half. We'll see if this is a game maybe Jack Kaiser plays a bit more and how the rest of the Notre Dame defense shake out. But watch that end opposite Javante Jean-Baptiste. He's really stepped up his game of late, but Notre Dame will be inexperienced with Burnham and Junior going the first half.
That's it for us pregame. We'll be back postgame with John Brice of FootballScoop.com, Tim Prister of Irish Illustrated. This has been Irish Illustrated Instant Analysis.